Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Tina. And can you believe it? We are halfway through 2025. Yeah, it feels weird, right? As I'm filming this, the 4th of July has just passed, which in my head is the unofficial halfway point of summer. So summer is halfway over. And I wanted to check in and give you all an update on how my reading has been going so far. I alluded to it in my last video where I was talking about my June reading and how I've really had a fantastic year, but I saw this tag going around, the mid-year freakout tag, and I feel like this has been going around since, BookTube has been a thing. So I grabbed the questions and I thought it would be fun to answer these for myself because you get a little bit of different data versus just a regular wrap up. To begin with, how has your reading year gone so far? And I've had a fantastic reading year. I really have. I'm on track to have the best reading year that I've had ever, both from a quality and a quantity standpoint. I always say that 2016 was my best year ever because I read books like 11/22/63, A Little Life. I read so many good ones that year. So I'm always like, that is the threshold. That is the one I have to beat. And I feel like 2025 is on track, which is very exciting. So far, I've finished 80 books so far, and I've really been on a new release kick, even more so than typical, because I always like new releases. But last year, I feel like was a dull year for new releases. This year has been pretty fabulous. I have read of the 80 books, 53 were published in 2025, so that's 66%. And my overall average star rating is 3.98, and I'm actually happy to see that. One of my goals was to have my star rating go down a little bit, which I know sounds kind of counterintuitive, you might think, but for somebody that reviews and rates so many books, I've really begun to refine my rating style. I used to be very stringent that you had to give half and quarter stars, and I still think those are valid, and sometimes 4.75, not 5, makes sense to me, but I've really been keeping an eye on how many books I'm like, it was fine. This is 3.5. For me, 3.5 is a book I would recommend to people. I've been doing a better job with saying 3 stars or 2 stars. So I've been very cognizant of rating them how I feel in my heart of hearts and not feeling bad about it. Because I think I used to feel bad and I didn't want an author to see that I rated their book lowly, but I have to continue to remind myself ratings are for readers. Ratings are for you all so you can know my taste. And when I see somebody who likes everything, I'm like, okay, fair enough. But like, where is the distinction there? How are you really sort of being nuanced with your take on what books you read? Now, I will maintain that I'm really good at picking out books that I think I'll like. So that's a part of the reason why my rating is so high. But so far, 3.98, I'll take it. What is the best book you've read so far in 2025? I have to give it to Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I read this very early. I read it as an arc. I read it on the plane to Florida back in January. And this came out in March. So I remember I put like little notes here and it says, flight to and from Florida, January 2025. So I remember where I was when I read this. And I just have to say, I just don't know. I think it's a very personal read for me. I just recently read it with a book club, and by and large, everyone really liked it, and everyone would recommend it. There's just something about her writing that really clicks for me. I'm not going to give a ton of synopses for the books because if you've watched me regularly, you've heard me talk about them. But this one's about a family that lives in a rural area protecting the world's last seed bank, and then a mysterious woman washes up shore. And so it's a family story, it's suspenseful, and it's a story of this woman and why she's headed to this remote island and what they learn about each other when they're there. I have no bad notes for this one. I saw and could understand some of the critique that my fellow book club members had, but for me, I was like, no, it just made sense. And I think if you like nature writing, I think if you like lyrical writing that still is suspenseful and still is accessible, but also very beautiful, then this one could be a really good one. If you've read her books previously, Migrations or Once There Were Wolves, and you liked them, definitely give this one a shot. You probably have already, because I feel like this is maybe the most buzzed about book this year, at least in my community, but I am still on that buzz bandwagon, baby. The next question is the best book you've reread so far this year. And something about me is I don't reread books that often. Rarely do I ever reread books, but my best reread for this year is The Hunger Games entire series. I read it all again For the third time of the original three, I've now read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes twice. And then, of course, I read this all in anticipation of Sunrise on the Reaping, which is Haymitch's story. This holds up. I am so impressed with this. I fear that this is more prescient than ever. It hits differently, I think, depending on what age you are when you read this. I was an adult when I first read this and I loved it. And I still love it just as much as I did. The Hunger Games, the first one, is my favorite by far. It's 5 stars. I also really like the second one, Catching Fire. I thought that one was really good. And I remember I was looking at my Goodreads and I'm like, wow, I didn't like Mockingjay that much. I gave it 3 stars and I couldn't remember why. And then I reread it. I was like, oh yeah, I remember why I gave it 3 stars. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is better than I think you think it is. A lot of people are really down on that book because it's Snow's story, and that is true. It's his villain story, but I thought it was pretty good. I think I gave it 4 stars. And then you'll hear about Haymitch's story in a minute, but this was definitely the best book that I reread in 2025. I'm going to skip the next question because it asks the best manga book you've read in 2025, and I don't read manga, so I'll skip that. But the best sequel that I've read so far this year is what we were just talking about, is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I loved this book. I thought it gave everything that it needed to give. And if you know the story of the Hunger Games, this is a prequel. It is a quarterquel, and it takes place before the original Hunger Games, but you know the main character in this because he was their mentor. So you kind of know, okay, it's the Hunger Games, only one winner, only one person can survive. So you know, like, he lives, but you don't know how, why, who else lives, etc. This was really good. For me, this one had all of the nostalgia of the original series. You also get to see some characters that you met in the original Hunger Games series. So I really, really enjoyed that. The only downside for me is there are a lot of lyrics in it, a lot of singing, and I'm just like not somebody that likes song lyrics in my fiction. Minor gripe, but overall I thought this one was really, really worth it. A new release that I have not yet read but want to is Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell. I love Lisa Jewell. I've read so many of her books at this point. Not all of them because she's very prolific, but I should count one day and see how many books that I have read of hers. And the reason I'm so excited for this, I didn't realize that this is a con story. I love a con story. I love somebody being conned. I want to see them get their, comeuppance. I just enjoy that angle. And this one I've heard it comped to, you remember that podcast Dirty John? That's what this one is comped to. So I'm excited for that. It's also full cast narration, which I really enjoy. And just quickly flipping through the pages, I can tell, one, that there are short chapters, but also she's using like different font to indicate, I imagine, different characters. There's also letters, and I just saw there's part 1 and part 2, and part 1's quite short. So I'm really excited for this one. I'll do a tandem read, I think, because I want to see the print, but also the audio looks great because there's so many fabulous narrators in it. My most anticipated novel for the second half of the year is a surprise, I think, because I don't know that this is buzzy, but I came across this one when we were picking out our community reads for Book Talk, etc. And I just thought, oh my God, I want to read this one so bad. It is called To the Moon and Back by Eliana Ramaj. And I have not heard anything about this novel yet. It is a debut, and it's about one woman's quest to become the first Cherokee astronaut. And this quest irrevocably alters the fates of the people she loves the most. This is a story of ambition, belonging, and family. I love the cover. I've been on a space kick. You know I loved Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I also have the book Challenger on my TBR for this month, which is really long. I did not realize that. And I'm just going to ride with it. I feel like last year, or maybe 2 years ago, it was all about the ocean, and I couldn't get away from books in the ocean. This year, actually, no, I feel like last year it was specifically about the Titanic. Oddly, I had read a bunch of books centering on the Titanic. By a bunch, I mean like 2 or 3. But this year it's space, and I'm excited for this. The worst book I've finished so far this year is probably The Float Test, Lynn Seegerstrong. I just didn't like the characters. I didn't like the plot. I didn't like anything about it. And I did a vlog on that one, so I won't belabor the point, but it was just not for me. And then the other one, the question is, what is your biggest disappointment of the year so far? And I really sat with it. But to answer this question, I was trying to decide like what were some of the books that I was most excited for. And these are two that I probably was the most excited for. What Kind of Paradise, Janelle Brown, and King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. And both of these were fantastic. So I'm happy to say they didn't let me down. But if I had to pick a book that let me down, I'm going to say 1 and 4 by Lucinda Berry. Now, I thought this one was going to be a reality TV show, sort of a tie-in. There was a murder mystery, somebody died in this sober house that is being filmed for reality TV, but I thought it was going to be lighter. This one takes a really, really weird turn at about 25% in, maybe 50% in, and it just got so gory. Unnecessarily so. And I just don't think this is her best work. I'll still continue to read her, but I was disappointed by this one. So the biggest surprise of the year so far, I would say, is Audition by Katie Kitamura. And I'm almost surprising myself by picking this as the biggest surprise because I had zero expectations going into it. I honestly don't even really know what made me grab it. I just had a copy of it. I think I had the audiobook and I was in a reading slump and I'm like, let me put this on and see what I think. And it begins with a woman and a man in a restaurant and she's much older than him and it's all kind of scandalous. And I'm like, well, why are they there? And it says they're not related. And even though they like look alike, and I'm like, all right, well, that's intriguing. I would call this a big surprise because I was very into it from the jump. There's also a big shift in the second half of the novel that I was not expecting. This is going to be very polarizing. I happen to fall in the camp of I quite liked it. Do I know what went on? No, I don't know exactly what went on there, but it's a book that's kind of fun to debate. So I think that one is a surprise for me. You know what? I actually have 2 surprises this year. I just realized this. This one, Sky Daddy by Kate Folk, was such a big surprise. I absolutely loved this novel. I mean, I was expecting this weird story about a woman who is sexually attracted to planes. And yeah, she is. What I wasn't expecting was for this to be so funny and endearing and charming. I loved this book. I want to be friends with Linda. I think we could have a good time together. I wouldn't judge her. And I was rooting for this character the entire story. So I think this one is a big surprise as well. The next one is, what is your favorite new author? I'm going to go with Claire Leslie Hall. Now, it says new or new to you author. She's not a new author. She has several others, but this was her US debut. So we are now just discovering her. And then it looks like her other books got re-released in the US. So she has a few other titles. I'll try and link them below if anybody's interested. But I just saw that they were available and I loved Broken Country so much. I was hooked. This is a novel that I think everybody should read. If you are somebody that likes mystery and thriller, I think you could get something out of it. If you like historical fiction, I think you would get something out of it. If you just like contemporary fiction, even though it's technically historical, it doesn't really read super historical. I just thought this was a fantastic story. And the crazy part is it's about a love triangle. Was talking myself into her being with both men, which is weird. The ending made me cry. I loved it. 5 stars. This next one really, really pressed me. And I can't come up with a fictional crush because I don't really do that in books, but I'm going to go with Roman from King of Ashes. Now, if you've read this, you are hardcore judging me. I'm hardcore judging myself, but I'm toxic. You know what I'm saying? In my head, he's like played by Idris Elba. And so I think that's where I'm going with it. If it were to be adapted, I mean, of course, not the entire book would I say was I having a crush on him, but I'm just picturing who I would have in the adaptation, Idris Elba. That's who I'm going to say. Which book has made you cry? I'm going to go with Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Not for the reasons you think, though. Not for the reasons you would think, because I loved the love story in this one, but I was so surprised that the things that Taylor Jenkins Reid had to say about motherhood, that is what gobsmacked me. I mean, there are sentences here that I want tattooed on my body. I want to print them out, put them on the walls, and it's just a really good story. Well, I sort of wish I had the one with the sprayed edges, but yeah, I also highly recommend this book. What is the most beautiful book you've bought this year? For me, it's the Book of Alchemy by Shuleka Jawad. And I mean, come on, it is beautiful. This is nonfiction. I'm slowly making my way through it and I'm doing some highlighting here and there, but there's tons of chapters in this, or there's tons of different authors that have contributed to this. And at the end, they give you a prompt to journal. So if you want to get into journaling or you already are a journaler, I think this one's a great pickup. And so far, I'm enjoying it. Books I need to read by the end of the year, there's these three. They are The Poppy Fields by Nikki Ehrlich, loosely inspired by The Wizard of Oz, from the author of The Measure. It is a book called The Names by Florence Knapp. I've heard people love this book, have nothing but good things to say. And I think it's a little bit sliding doors / speculative, where it follows a woman who names her son 3 different things, and he has different lives depending on what name he was given, which I think is an interesting premise. And then The Bright Years is just one that I've had on my list. Again, I've heard really good things about it. And I think it's just the story of a marriage in turmoil. But those are 3 I'd love to get to. What is your favorite video you've made so far this year? It's got to be this one where my family and I went to 10 bookstores in one day for Independent Bookstore Day. We had a fantastic time. I loved showing my children and my husband, and we just had a really, really good time making that one and highlighting all of these bookstores in Chicago. Question 10 is, which video did you think would flop but did well? I can't think of an example of one that I thought would flop but ended up doing well, but I have an example of one that I thought would do well but flopped really badly, and it's this one, rereading all of the Hunger Games books vlog. I read 5 books for this vlog. I reread 4 books, and I swear to you, I thought I was so clever. I thought I was gonna really break the internet with this hot take. It didn't happen, but I had a really good time making it, so that's what counts. Any upcoming videos you're excited to make? Yes, I have a lot. I have so many ideas percolating. I just need to film them and, script them out and edit them and all of those fun things. I'm also excited to refine my TBR and to bring you guys just more fun content. I'm going to change the way I think I do my TBR, and I'm going to shift to more seasonal. So if you have any books that you're like, Tina would love this, or you just want to hear my take on it, leave them in the comments, or I have a post up in the YouTube community tab, because I want to see what you guys think that I should read. And then for every quarter or so, I'm going to pull some from the subscribers TBR jar, because I want to see what you want me to read. I think that's a fun idea. And then finally, I will end with any channel goals by the end of the year. Yes, my goal by the end of the year is to get to 10,000 subscribers, which is pretty crazy. As of this time, I'm at about 6,800, and I'm so incredibly grateful. My goal was 10,000 in the first year, and I'm almost there. My first video came out on October 29th, which was my birthday. And so if I could get 10,000 by the end of the year, I would be absolutely delighted. I'm having such a good time with this, and it would just make me happy to have that milestone. So, if you're not subscribed already, please do so and help me get closer to my goal. But that is it for today. Thanks for hanging with me. I loved making this video. I love taking these moments to really take stock of your reading year. And I invite you to do the same. If you've done a video like this, let me know. I'd be happy to check it out and leave a comment for you. But for now, in the comments here, I'm asking for 2 things. Leave a comment of a book you think that I would love to read, and tell me how your reading year has been going so far in 2025. Has it been great? Have you had some misses? Has it been all new releases? I'm all ears, and I will be responding to comments. But thank you as always for spending time with me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.